Hey, it's Chris from the Custom Cuts by Chris Wood Shop. Today I'm going to knock one off the honey-do list and finally make some mirror frames for our master bathroom. I'm building these out of standard construction pine. It's not my favorite material to work with, and I'm sure it's not most of your favorite material, but my wife wanted a specific look, so that's what we're going with. Once I have the parts broken down to rough size, I go to the joiner and flatten one face and square one edge. Once that's done for all 8 pieces that will make 2 frames, I take them over to the planer. I'm actually going to take them to the final width here at the planer. Speed that process up, I can batch them out 4 at a time. Once they're down to final width, then I can flip them and mill them down to final thickness. From there, I'll take them over to the table saw on the crosscut sled and square up one end, and then cut them to final length. Once that's done, I'm ready to cut my joinery. The joinery for these, I like to use a half lap. It's a fairly strong joint. It's got a lot of glue surface, and it kind of plays into that rustic farmhouse look as well. To cut those half laps, I'm going to use a simple tenon jig on the table saw that fits over the rip fence. So I set my blade height to the thickness of the material that I'm using. Then I set the fence so that on one cheek, exactly half the thickness of my stock is left. Now I've marked an X on the end of each of these boards to make sure that I have the right face facing out, and I make sure I cut the right cheek off. Once I make all these cuts with the tenoning jig, I go back to the crosscut sled and I can cut the rest of that waste out, and that leaves me with a perfect half lap joint. Next, I need to cut some rabbets in the back of each of these pieces to accept the mirror. This rabbet is going to be 3/8 by 3/8 of an inch. I felt the fastest way to do that was going to be at the router table, so I've got that set up here. On the pieces where the rabbet is on the long face, I want that rabbet to be a stop cut, so I've marked out some lines on my router fence here where I place my workpiece and then slowly ease it into the router bit, and then again stop at the mark on the other end and pull it off the blade before going all the way through. Once all those rabbets are cut, I can now get ready for assembly. Assembly is pretty quick and easy. Add some glue to each of the cheeks, make sure everything is square and tight, and then drive a few 23 gauge 1/2 inch pin nails in each just to hold them in place while the glue's drying. Once everything is dry, I need to square up the corners where I had the stop rabbets cut, and here you can see why I had to stop that rabbet cut and not go all the way through. So I use a chisel and a mallet here to square those corners up so that my mirror panel will fit in nicely. With that done, I now need to cut some slots for the keyhole hardware that I'm going to use to hang these. I like using this keyhole hardware. It makes it really easy to hang the mirrors on the wall, and I find that it's a pretty sturdy method to hang a heavy mirror as well. Next, I give everything a light sanding. This is pine, so it's pretty easy to sand. So I'm just going with 220. Hit them lightly on the face with a random orbit sander on each side. Then sand the edges by hand. Make special care to get the inside of those rabbets because we're installing a mirror in here, and you will be able to see that reflection through on that 3/8 of an inch rabbet. With everything sanded, I can now put some finish on. For the finish, I'm using a product called Old Barn Milk Paint, and a combination of 2 different colors, rustic and weathered. I believe this company has actually gone through a rebrand and is called something different now since I bought it, but I'll make sure to link below where you can find this product. This is supposed to be a 1-step stain and finish. We've used it on a dresser and another mirror frame, and it seems to work fine. Mirror frames aren't going through a whole lot of wear and tear, so I'm not too worried about it anyway. Something to be careful with here is this stuff does dry pretty quick, and you can get dry edges, and it's hard to blend those in if you let it dry, so make sure you're trying to feather your edges out as you go, but otherwise it's a pretty simple process. With all the finish on, it's now time to install the mirror panel. The mirror drops right into the rabbets, And I just use a silicone adhesive around the edges, one to keep the mirror from rattling, but that's also all that I use to hold the panel in. These aren't undergoing a lot of stress and moving around a lot. They're just hanging vertically on the wall, so I don't think that panel's going to jump out of there just by being held in with some silicone. Last step is to install the hardware and hang these on the wall. I'd say this is a big improvement over a glass mirror panel leaning up against the counter for the last year and a half. So I'm glad to get this project done, and I hope you enjoyed watching. Stay tuned, I've got lots more projects in the work and working on getting videos out to you as fast as I can. Appreciate you watching. Until next time, have a great day.